Hey guys, I wanted to have a conversation about more information that's been released. It's cold out. More information that's been released from Beto. We were sitting here, my wife and I. My wife is. I'm gonna have some that's almost like man on the street episodes. While I'm waiting for my wife, she's doing a test. Having testing. I'll talk about that one in my other videos. But for this particular video, this one is going to be relatively short. More information was released by Beto's team on his fundraising numbers because, he's been dodgy and cagey about how much he's been raising and why. It's like, how much have you raised and what have been the totals of those raising, what were the average donations, and that information has been released. So I'm going to put that at the bottom at the end of this video. But basically, what it boils down to is kind of, I think, what I said in my other video, that ultimately Beto had bundlers, and those bundlers allowed him to get a ton of cash, the 6.1 million figure. What it ended up being, and we don't know the specifics. Beto comes out and says his average donation was about 48 bucks. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that there were some people who donated multiple times in increments of like $48 in order to make it look a particular way. So, for example, if I come on and I donate, I'm giving a bunch of cash, but I'm going to give that cash in smaller increments to make it look as if my average donations were lower than what they actually would have been. Beyond that point, the secondary thing, the number of people who are donating. Bernie Sanders had twice as many people than Beto. And I'm being rough with my estimates, but Beto, let's say, had 125,000 donors. That's not horrible by any means. If I'm not mistaken, it dwarfs the rest of the field, with the exception of one, Mr. Bernie Sanders, who had 250-something thousand discrete individual donations of $27. I think the average was like $27. But you get my point. The number of 6.1 million is not necessarily indicative of the amount of support of the individual. Like I said in my other video, what matters more so is the actual support. If you're going to have 250-something thousand people donating money like that, all of those people could re-up over and over and over and over and over again, dwarfing somebody who only has half of the number of people who are donating that cash. I strongly suspect that what we're going to find out when we finally get the opportunity to see the numbers is that many of those donations were essentially bundled. I think that's what we're going to see, as opposed to the grassroots efforts from Sanders, whether it was just kind of this organic people giving. Also, there's another thing that's going out there that's, I think, is not necessarily right. When will you release your pre-V donation numbers? Jimmy Dore's illegitimate son. I can't donate. I can't divulge how much Progressive Voice has been given to my campaign or to my show, and that's private. It's like lawyer confidentiality. But you guys get my point. I'm not going to keep this video out long. Ultimately, Bernie Sanders had twice as many donations, roughly speaking, as Beto did in the campaign thing. Beto was working with Obama bundlers, which means that it's not necessarily this organic fundraising effort as Beto is pretending it is. It has more to do with him working with Obama bundlers who gave Beto tons of cash. Also, this hypothesis that Beto gave his money back to his campaign, we don't know. I don't know if that's true. In fact, I'm almost inclined to say that's not true. I've seen people who I like push that idea. We don't know that. I'm not in this position that just because I support Sanders that I'm going to automatically jump into every conspiracy theory that's indicative of support for Sanders. If somebody had better fundraising numbers, I'm curious of why they had those better fundraising numbers. I don't want to get to the bottom of it, but I don't necessarily want to make stuff up in lieu of that. I think that's more problematic, if I'm being honest. But is what it is. Bernie Sanders is twice as many donations as Beto. Beto is working with Obama bundlers. Beto didn't necessarily want that information to come out, but Beto was being attacked viciously by the left. And again, I kind of make this point. Why are you hiding this? Right? Isn't it somewhat problematic that we haven't even got into the main campaigns? I mean, the primary has just started, and Beto is already hiding his numbers. He doesn't want people to see it. What's wrong with the transparency? Jamal, you're breaking up when you broadcast. You have to use the warp wave transmitter. I'm breaking up. He's not breaking up for me. Yeah, I shouldn't be breaking up. I'm out in the middle of, middle of boonies. All right, I am going to end this. No, this is a hospital. My wife is getting testing. That's another video. In fact, that's probably going to be the next video that I want to talk about. But, right, that's kind of my point. Back chop. Started this campaign by lying. Seems like an honest guy deserving my vote. Yeah, right. That's my point. It's like, oh, don't want to release my numbers. Why don't you want to release your numbers? What are you hiding from the public itself that you want to support you? And he's like, well, we'll release them later. What do you mean you release them later? Everybody else released their numbers. What are you hiding? I strongly suspect Beto probably would have been those people telling Trump to release his tax returns while simultaneously not wanting to release his 24-hour fundraising numbers because he knows. The strategy here politically is to get far enough away from this to where people are not paying attention to it, but that you get the original boost. So think of it as, oh, Beto has got $6.1 million. Oh, wow, that's amazing. He got all money. And then you can move further away from it. And as you move further and further away from it, people remember less and less and less about the fact that Beto got $6.1 million. They just remember that. They don't necessarily remember how he got the money. When the numbers come out later on and you can see the discrete individual donations, it's going to be beyond that point. Nobody's going to care anymore. They're only going to care about that original number that popped. I suggest to you that that is what is taking place. Once we get to see the numbers from open secrets, or we get to see the discrete individual donations, I think we will see the reality of this. But at that point, it would be too late. The number, that original number itself, is the thing that sticks into the people's consciousness, not necessarily the after effect. And from the standpoint of mainstream media, what is going to be reported is the 6.1 million, not how we got the 6.1 million, not if they were bundlers, not the donation. They're not going to explain any of that. The only thing that is going to matter is the number. What I put forth here is that that's what Beto is doing. The reason why he's not releasing the details of it is because he doesn't want you to see the details of it. He will disclose that later when it doesn't matter. Right now, when it does matter, he doesn't want you to see it. That is problematic. And that should bother you that Beto is not being honest and transparent about his campaign starting off. So I'm going to end this one. I will be back. Guys, if you enjoyed this content, please like the videos. Please share the videos. And I will see you guys probably like in 3 or 4 minutes, however long it takes to re-up this video. I'm also going to put down the specific detail numbers, meaning the article that links Beto's fundraising numbers in comparison to Sanders' numbers. So, thanks all. Hope the wife is okay. They found, I'll explain in another video because I want to talk about the healthcare system in America. There are problems with our healthcare system. Thanks all. I'll see you in a few. If you enjoy the content, please feel free to share, like it, subscribe it. You can always support through PayPal or Patreon.